course, the media has been hyping the Casey Anthony trial and the surprise not guilty verdict. Now, there are a few things that are interesting about this, in that, of course, it is a diversion, a massive diversion. And it's interesting to see that the crowds outside the courthouse were angry about the result of the trial. They wanted to see her convicted. They wanted her to hang. Two reasons for that. First of all, the American people are living in a panopticon society where they feel like they're being watched. They're afraid to express their opinions because they've heard the stories about warrantless wiretaps, internet surveillance, cameras going up everywhere. So they can't openly express their anger and frustration at their own government. So they want to take it out on someone. They'll take it out on their own family. They'll take it out on their wife, their kids, their husband, people at work, whoever they can. But when something like this comes up, they can express their frustration openly. And they'll do it, say, if they get to serve on a jury. That's why so many juries come back with guilty verdicts, because people are vindictive and they want to take their hatred and anger out on someone, whether they're guilty or not. And I think that's the case here. I think you had the mob mentality, frustration, wanting to be released, pent up over time. She's not the most likable person in the world, obviously, and she lived not the best life. But that doesn't mean she murdered her kid. But these people wanted a conviction. And you have a lot of juries now, especially federal juries, that will convict a newborn baby of assassinating JFK. They don't care. They just want to convict. And they're too gutless to stand up against their real enemies, such as the international bankers, such as the puppet politicians who are selling America to China and to the bankers brick by brick. They're letting them get away with it because they're too cowardly to stand up to them. But if they ever get an opportunity to take out their hatred and frustration, they will, such as it is with this. Now, by some miracle, this jury didn't convict her. And I don't believe they should have, because there just wasn't enough evidence. But there are too many people out there who don't care about evidence. They only care about revenge. Except when it comes to people who can fight back, like the bankers, like the politicians. So they'll just shrivel up and turn into little cowards when they have to face their real enemies. But what we need in America is people who will stand up to them, people who will go after the real enemy. Now, some people are so ignorant they don't even see who their real enemy is. But we have a multi-layered deception here. First of all, you have the cable people like Nancy Grace. Now, she's insane. It's obvious. She really shouldn't even be on television. In the past, she has gone after people like Richard Reese, who was wrongfully accused and imprisoned for the Elizabeth Smart kidnapping. He died while he was in jail. It later turned out that he was innocent. And Nancy Grace was the cheerleader. She wanted to see him convicted. She wanted to see him dead. You have somebody who is psychotic, twisted, malicious. You can just see it in her face. She's obviously a hate-filled, vindictive witch. And we have too many people in our society who fall into that category. Where's the outrage over, for example, the fact that Obama released in April a provably false birth certificate? There's no anger about that. There's no mobs about that. They let him get away with it. That's okay with them. You got a communist dictator sitting in the White House. He releases a fraudulent birth certificate and nobody says anything about it. There's plenty of people who protest Casey Anthony. There's plenty of people who go after somebody who can't strike back at them because we're living in fear. That's cowardice. The media can divert your attention with stories like this to keep you from going after the real enemies. Just like a government will start a war. When the people are getting angry because of the bad economy or some other reason, they'll start a war just to keep your anger directed somewhere else. You see, that's why we have never-ending wars in the Middle East, because they realize that's like a steam valve to keep the pressure off of them. We need to overcome the fear. We need to overcome the veil of deception. N-Star Radio.